Hey everyone, Lawrence here. It's time for another newsletter. I got bad news though. It happened. Politics are in games! Oh, we didn't fight hard enough, gamers. The politics took over. I don't know, I've just noticed there's been a couple of instances lately in games culture of politics being really strong factors. I'll lead with the politically safe one first, for me. The back and forth with Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer of PlayStation and Xbox respectively over Call of Duty. So with Microsoft on the verge of acquiring Activision Blizzard, who owns Call of Duty, there's been some anxiety about the future of that franchise on PlayStation because Microsoft has pulled other franchises off of PlayStation. They're not going to publish Elder Scrolls. The upcoming Starfield is not going to be on PlayStation platforms. This has become the focal point for both of these executives to try to sort of nudge public opinion in their favor. It's been a really weird back and forth. So it kind of started with Phil Spencer making certain statements like, quote, "We are committed to making the same version of Call of Duty available on PlayStation on the same day the game launches elsewhere." He says they're committed. He didn't say they're actually going to do it. It was interesting to see that people didn't really clue into that very politically worded message. Later, Spencer also supplied this comment to The Verge, saying that they provided a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with feature and content parity for at least several more years beyond the current Sony contract. Again, it's vague and makes it sound pretty good if you use your imagination, but it doesn't actually say anything. So that was interesting. And then that brought out PlayStation's Jim Ryan to kind of issue corrective statements saying, quote, "I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business decision, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum." So it's, some passive aggressive shade there, trying to make the other person sound like the aggressor or like they're stepping outside of boundaries. And then Ryan went on to say, quote, "We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines this principle." So you see, they're fighting for the gamers. They're fighting for me. I should like that. No, they're a corporation, and they want to make sure that a money-making property is still on their system. It doesn't take much to see through that. The thing is, the context of those statements is that the Microsoft Activision acquisition is under review in the UK, and it's moving on to a more delicate step in the process. We covered it on Inside Games, so I don't need to go over the whole thing again. But these companies are, on Microsoft's part, putting statements out into the public to try to get public opinion on their side, to smooth the process out. And Sony's doing the opposite. They're putting statements out to try to drag public opinion the other way, hoping that they can slow down this process or maybe even stop it in different regions and different political systems of the world that are aligned to maybe being a little more pro-worker than the United States. This is politics in games. This is literally it. This is game executives making statements that are designed to sway the opinions of their audience to their monetary benefit. Now, whatever, that's marketing, that's everything. It's just interesting to me that this is as literal as it gets, right down to the presidential phrasing that Phil Spencer is using. So it's a little gross. I think it can go to a dangerous place when those antagonisms get passively sort of inflamed. We all know how audiences get when they're riled up. The gamers aren't known for their decorum, but I know that Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer know that too, and they're being delicate. It hasn't gotten to a gross point yet, but when you start to use people's brand affinity to try to nudge things in your favor, especially when you're interacting with world governments, that's when it starts to feel a little creepy. I mean, Tim Sweeney did a lot of that during the Epic and Apple trial. So politics in games, this is the thing you didn't want, but we all know it wasn't about that. It's just an interesting observation to make that games are at this point now. And that concludes the politically safe part of this, because it's always safe to dunk on the gamers with a capital G, maybe even a Z on the end. I've noticed that around the GTA 6, leak discourse is that everyone's mad at a group of people for just shooting from the hip their take about alpha footage. Very, very strange. I guess people still expect the best. Speaking of expecting the best out of people, like I said, this next part is going to make me sound bitter and shitty. And yes, it's about Cyberpunk. This is also very political. The game was extremely political when it came out, in that the politics of how you had to talk about it were complicated. I mean, it wasn't very complicated. It was just safe to shit on it. That's it. The politics was shit on it, and everyone will like you. That has changed, though. We're entering this renaissance phase. I figured that would happen eventually. The game has too many good qualities to not be remembered well at some point. But yeah, it's happening. The anime, the patches, they finally caught up. There's a wave of public sentiment. Numbers are up. It's getting great numbers on Steam. It's getting really good numbers on Twitch. That's interesting to see. I figured that redemption arc would happen. What I find odd, though, is that when this happens, there's no frustration with media for not sticking up for the good parts about it earlier. I guess, why would there be? You know, if no one was in a place where they could enjoy it back then, having some nerd like me say, no, it's actually really good, like nobody's ready to hear that, so what's the point? And it's not like you win any mathematical points on a media scale of being right in the end. It's just interesting. I would think, and I personally have been frustrated when there are qualities with a game that nobody elevates because I want to know about them. I was a bit frustrated that a lot of the better points of Cyberpunk and a lot of the things that make it a lot better than a lot of the other more resigned consumer entertainment and video games. It was daring, it was artistic, had an incredible soundtrack, all of these things. I would be frustrated if no one made me aware of them. So it's interesting that my theoretical frustration isn't really shared by anybody else. It seems like the product isn't authentic media critique. The product is solidarity. This is something I've known for a long time now working on YouTube. It's just interesting seeing it represented in different ways. The product of games media is it's accessory entertainment content to other entertainment content. It's not journalism. It's not even artistic critique because nobody wants those things. It is what it is. It makes me wonder though. Maybe solidarity, I mean, it's just human nature, but I wonder if there's a factor there of like, if you play video games, you can tend to feel a little ostracized just by, especially if you play single player games, kind of spend a lot of time in your own head. So when you go outside of your head, you kind of want to feel like you're a part of a group that's all experiencing something in tandem. I think that's why Twitch is really nice too. So that's maybe why solidarity is such a powerful factor in gaming circles. You want to feel like you're on the winning side. You're on a team where everybody agrees with you. And maybe that's why I'm so salty because maybe it's because I feel excluded from that. My giant brain pushed me outside of the human experience. I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, this is really me just being the guy who's screaming that there's no sound in space over the Star Wars movie, and everybody's like, nobody fucking cares. So the real solution is to stop caring what other people are doing, because it's a silly thing to get hung up on in the first place. Who cares what other people think about a video game and when? I'll just keep doing my thing. That's the whole point. I keep losing sight of that. I think it's because I look to the outside world for guidance and understanding, and the outside world is just chaos. And trying to parse that for trends is a nightmare. All right, this week on the stream, here's what I got coming up. More Ace Combat 7, more Cyberpunk 2077. It's been awesome. Continuing Fallout New Vegas. I started Star Wars Republic Commando last week. I'm really excited to get back to that. That was a really fun game. It's like a Half-Life kind of compressed into Star Wars into a really long hallway. But it's really fun. It's really cool. And then I'm picking up my God of War stream again this Saturday. I'm playing through the entire game on Give Me God of War. I want to finish it before the sequel comes out. I want to beat all those Valkyries. That's going to be a nightmare because I haven't played it in a few months now. Also, this week I'm sponsored by Gundam Evolution, so I'm going to be playing that a couple of nights of this week. And finally, I wanted to give a thank you to all my patrons. I have disrupted the way I used to post to Patreon because I'm doing these in video now, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how to fix that flow. I used to just post it in text every week, and now I'm getting an editor to do this, which thank you, David. David's awesome. So I'm gonna figure out how to make that content flow back to the Patreon in a more rewarding way. I just got to stew on it for a little bit, but that's it for this week. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you next week. Bye, everybody.